In the bustling space market, amidst the bright lights and alien chatter, a human named Jack walked through the crowded stalls. He wasn't a rich man, just an ordinary traveler with a curious spirit. His eyes scanned the various items on display, strange gadgets, rare minerals, and old relics from across the galaxy. But one stall caught his attention. It was tucked away in a corner, barely noticeable, with a simple sign hanging above. Old space containers for $1. Jack had seen his fair share of odd items, but something about this sign intrigued him. A space container for just $1? It seemed impossible. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, but the deal was too good to ignore. With a shrug, he made his way over to the stall. The vendor, an old alien with wrinkled skin and a tired look, noticed him and smiled. "You're interested, yes?" the alien asked in a raspy voice. Jack nodded, his curiosity growing. "What's inside?" he asked, looking at the dusty, weathered container sitting on a wooden table. The alien waved his hand dismissively. "Who knows? Old junk, probably. But it's cheap. Only $1. Maybe it's worth something. Maybe not." Jack looked at the container again. It wasn't much to look at, just a large metal box, scratched and dented from years of use. But there was something about it that called to him, something that made him feel like he needed to buy it. Without hesitation, he handed over the $1. The alien nodded, almost as if he had been expecting the sale, and handed the container to Jack. "Take it. You might find something inside, or nothing at all," the alien said, his voice filled with a strange, almost knowing tone. Jack didn't think much of it. He thanked the alien and turned to leave. The container felt oddly heavy in his hands, as though it contained more than just forgotten relics. But Jack pushed the thought aside. He was used to strange things in space. After all, he was just a traveler looking for adventure, not someone who believed in legends or superstitions. As he made his way back to his small ship, he couldn't help but glance at the container again. The metal surface shimmered strangely under the dim lights of the spaceport. Jack stopped in his tracks for a moment, a flicker of unease passing through him. But then, with a deep breath, he shrugged it off. He was probably just tired. When he finally reached his ship, Jack tossed the container onto his bed and stared at it for a while. It was just a cheap purchase, nothing more. But as he sat there, the weight of the container seemed to pull at him. He couldn't explain why, but he felt like there was more to this object than met the eye. With a quiet sigh, Jack stood up, walked over to the container, and hesitated. His fingers brushed against the cold metal surface. There was something oddly inviting about it, something that made him want to open it. Without thinking, he grabbed a tool from his bag and began prying open the container. What Jack didn't know was that his life was about to change forever. Inside this old, worn-out container, something far beyond his imagination awaited, something that had been hidden for centuries, just waiting for the right person to find it. As the lid of the container creaked open, a strange glow filled the room. Jack's heart raced, his curiosity and excitement mixing with an unsettling feeling deep in his chest. What had he just uncovered? The answer lay inside. But it was a secret Jack was about to discover, the kind of secret that would change everything. Jack's hands trembled slightly as he lifted the lid of the space container. The strange glow grew brighter and a soft hum filled the air, like a distant melody from another world. He paused, his heart pounding in his chest. The container was far from empty, as he had expected. Inside, there were rows of figures, their bodies lying still, wrapped in what appeared to be some kind of protective, shimmering material. At first glance, they looked like statues, frozen in time, their features delicate and perfectly preserved. Curiosity took over, and Jack carefully reached inside, his fingers brushing against the smooth surface of the material. It felt cold, yet almost alive, like the surface of something that shouldn't belong in this universe. He hesitated for a moment, wondering if he had made a mistake. What kind of treasure had he just unearthed? Or was this some elaborate trap set by the alien vendor? But his curiosity pushed him forward. As he carefully unwrapped one of the figures, his breath caught in his throat. It was an alien, unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with an ethereal glow, and her features were both haunting and mesmerizing, eyes that seemed to sparkle with distant stars, lips full and perfectly shaped, and long flowing hair that glowed like a moonlit night. She was beautiful, in a way that went beyond anything Jack had ever experienced. Jack's mind raced as he carefully studied her. She was clearly not human. The shape of her face, the delicate, almost translucent quality of her skin, the subtle alien markings along her arms, it all pointed to something far more advanced than anything he knew. His first instinct was to be afraid, to close the container and leave, but he couldn't. He had to know more. Carefully, he pressed a button on the side of the container. It was a small, hidden mechanism he hadn't noticed before. The alien's body began to shift, and with a soft sigh, she blinked her eyes open. For a moment, she simply stared at Jack, confusion and curiosity in her gaze. Her voice, when it came, was soft and melodic, a language Jack didn't understand. She blinked a few more times as if processing the information. "Where am I?" she finally whispered, her voice faint but clear. Jack's mouth went dry. You're awake," he said, his voice shaking. He tried to speak again, but words failed him. How could he explain this? The alien's gaze lingered on him, searching his face. It was as if she knew, deep down, that this human was the one who had awakened her from a deep, unknown slumber. "You," she said slowly. "You found me." Jack was stunned. I don't know what's going on," he stammered. "You were in this container? I bought it for $1. A soft laugh escaped her lips. $1? She seemed amused, but there was something deeper in her eyes, a glimmer of ancient knowledge. "You don't understand, do you? This container, it's not just a relic. It's a prison." A chill ran down Jack's spine. A prison? His mind raced as he looked at her. What did she mean? What had he just awoken? And why was she so calm, so composed, despite the situation? The alien's eyes softened and she sat up slowly, her movements graceful, almost otherworldly. "I was meant to sleep for much longer," she continued, her voice carrying an ancient weight. "But fate has changed, and now you and we are bound by the secrets of the stars." Jack felt the air grow heavy with tension. He didn't know what was happening, but he could feel it. Something big was about to unfold. Something that would change the course of his life forever. And then, without warning, the hum from the container grew louder, and Jack noticed something strange. The other figures inside the container were stirring, beginning to awaken as well. He glanced around, his pulse quickening. What had he just unleashed upon the universe? The answer was right before him, and it was just beginning. The alien woman's eyes met Jack's with an intensity that made his heart race. There was something ancient and knowing in her gaze, a depth that suggested she had seen the universe in ways Jack could never imagine. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her voice, though soft, carried an unspoken weight of centuries. "Do you understand now?" she asked, her tone calm but firm, as if she was speaking to someone who should already know the truth. "I was not meant to wake. The others. They were not meant to be disturbed." Jack struggled to form a response. The air in the room felt thick, as if the very walls were holding their breath. "But why were you in there?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is this place?" "What are you?" The alien woman's lips parted slightly, her eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and strength. She took a step closer, and Jack instinctively backed up, his heart pounding in his chest. The fear was growing, but so was the fascination. She was beautiful in a way that left him breathless. And yet there was an undeniable power emanating from her, something far beyond his understanding. "We are the last of our kind," she said softly, "a race that once thrived across the stars. Our civilization was ancient, far older than any human culture you could imagine. But then came the war, one we couldn't win. We were scattered, hidden, forgotten." Jack could hardly process the gravity of her words. "War, forgotten?" he asked, his mind racing to keep up. "But what happened to your people? Why are you here?" A faint, sad smile crossed her lips. "We were exiled, encased in these containers by those who feared our power. Our minds were put to sleep, our bodies preserved. We were forgotten by all but a few. You—" She paused, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You must be the one who was meant to find us. The one who was meant to awaken us." Jack didn't know how to respond. He was just a man who had made a random purchase, a stupid, impulsive buy that had now led him down a path he didn't understand. He tried to step back, but his feet seemed glued to the floor. There was no going back now. The soft hum of the container grew louder again, and Jack glanced over his shoulder. The other alien figures inside the container were starting to stir, their bodies shifting, eyes slowly opening one by one. It was happening faster now, as though their awakening had been triggered by the first. They were beautiful, just like her. Each one a living work of art, with features that defied everything Jack thought he knew about beauty. Their skin glowed, their eyes shimmered with a strange, almost supernatural light. As the last one stirred, a sudden silence fell. The room felt colder now, the air thick with tension. Jack could feel the weight of their gazes on him, and for the first time, he realized just how out of his depth he truly was. "What happens now?" Jack asked, his voice barely audible. The alien woman turned to the others, her expression unreadable. She raised her hand, and one of the other aliens stepped forward, her movements fluid and graceful. Jack could feel an invisible force building, something that tugged at his very soul. He wanted to run, to escape this strange, powerful presence, but something held him there. "We awaken for a reason," the woman said, her voice now laced with urgency. "There is much we must tell you. But first, you must understand, we cannot stay hidden any longer. The galaxy has changed, and so must we," Jack swallowed hard. "What do you mean? What's happening?" The woman's eyes softened, a flash of sadness crossing her face. "The enemies of my people are still out there, and they will stop at nothing to finish what they started. They will come for us, and for you." Jack's stomach churned. The weight of her words settled over him like a dark cloud. Whatever he had awoken, it wasn't just a chance encounter. It was the beginning of something far bigger, and he was now a part of it, whether he liked it or not. The alien woman turned to the others, and for a moment Jack could see the unity in their eyes. They weren't just survivors. They were a force waiting to rise again, and Jack was about to become part of their story. The room fell silent, the hum of the container now replaced by a strange sense of anticipation. Jack had no idea what lay ahead, but he knew one thing for sure: his life would never be the same again. Jack's mind raced as the alien woman spoke, her words sinking in with a weight that pressed down on his chest. The other figures, now fully awake, stood silently around him, their eyes trained on him with an intensity that felt almost otherworldly. The room was charged with an energy he couldn't begin to comprehend. The alien woman's gaze softened as she noticed Jack's confusion. "You're not ready," she said quietly. "But you must be. The galaxy doesn't give us the luxury of time." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. He could feel the panic rising in his chest, the sense that things were spiraling out of control. The woman stepped closer, her eyes locking onto his. "Your world is changing, human," she said, her voice steady but tinged with sorrow. "Our enemies, the ones who exiled us, have not forgotten. They have been waiting for centuries, and now they are searching for us again. They will stop at nothing to finish what they started." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He had no idea what she meant, but the way she spoke, the way her eyes never left his, he could tell she wasn't lying. This wasn't just a random encounter. He had unwittingly become a part of something far greater than he could ever imagine. "What do you want me to do?" Jack asked, his voice trembling. He wanted to pull away, to run from this strange and terrifying reality, but he couldn't. He felt trapped, caught in a web he didn't understand. The alien woman turned toward the others. They stood in a quiet circle, watching her with a mix of respect and anticipation. She raised her hand, and one of the other figures, a tall alien with golden skin and bright blue eyes, stepped forward. The being spoke in a language Jack couldn't understand. But the tone was clear, urgent, commanding. "I know what they want," the woman said, her voice breaking through the alien's speech. "They want to finish what they started centuries ago, but they will not succeed. Not now." Jack watched as the woman's gaze turned to the sky, as if seeing something beyond the walls of the room. There was something in her eyes, something ancient and knowing. "You have awakened us, human," she said softly. "And you are now part of our fight." The words felt like a punch to the gut. He had wanted nothing more than to live his simple, quiet life. Yet here he was, at the center of a struggle that spanned across the stars. "We will fight," the woman continued, her voice growing stronger. "But we cannot do it alone. You and those like you must stand with us. The galaxy is changing, and you must decide which side you will stand on." Jack's mind raced. How had he gotten caught up in this? He was just a man who had bought a container for $1. Yet now he was being thrust into a battle between ancient enemies. And the worst part? He didn't even know where to start. The alien woman stepped back, her gaze softening as she looked at him. "There is still much to learn, much to uncover. But for now, we wait. They will come soon, and we must be ready." The tension in the room was palpable, as if every breath they took was measured, every movement deliberate. Jack felt his body tense in response. He couldn't escape this now. He was in it, whether he liked it or not. As the room fell into an eerie silence, Jack's thoughts swirled. He didn't know what his future held, but one thing was certain. The path ahead would not be easy. He had awakened something ancient and powerful, and now he had to face the consequences. The alien woman's voice broke the silence once more. "Get ready, human. The battle for the galaxy is about to begin." The weight of the alien woman's words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and ominous. Jack's heart hammered in his chest, his thoughts spiraling in 1,000 directions. He had no idea what he had just become a part of, but he was certain of one thing: his life was no longer his own. The room was silent except for the soft hum coming from the container, and Jack's breath felt shallow in the tension-filled atmosphere. The other aliens stood still, like statues, their eyes fixed on him with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. He wanted to scream, to run away, but something inside him held him in place, something powerful and undeniable. "What exactly am I supposed to do?" Jack finally managed to ask, his voice shaky but determined. He felt small, insignificant in the presence of these beings who seemed to hold the weight of the universe in their eyes. The alien woman turned to him, her gaze piercing, as if seeing through him. "You will learn," she said, her voice calm but filled with a quiet authority. "You are not just a bystander, human. You are part of this now, whether you understand it or not. You've awoken us, and now you must help us awaken the rest." Jack's head spun. "What do you mean by awaken the rest?" he asked, feeling his confusion deepen with every word. The pieces of this puzzle weren't coming together, and he had no idea how to start fitting them. The woman stepped closer, her presence overwhelming yet strangely comforting. "There are others like us," she explained. "Others who were hidden away in these containers, scattered across the galaxy. They too have been asleep for centuries. The enemies who exiled us thought they could trap us forever, but they were wrong. The time has come for us to rise again." Jack felt a ripple of fear course through him. He had no idea what kind of enemies they were talking about, but the gravity of the situation was starting to hit him. These aliens weren't just survivors. They were the last of their kind, and they had been locked away, waiting for someone to set them free. And now that someone was him. "Their enemies?" Jack whispered, his mind finally piecing together the faintest hints of understanding. "They're still out there." The alien woman's eyes darkened and she nodded. "Yes. The ones who exiled us, who forced us into these containers, they are not finished. They will come for us again, and they will stop at nothing to finish what they started." Jack swallowed hard. He couldn't comprehend the enormity of the threat. He had thought this was some kind of wild, accidental discovery, but now he saw it for what it truly was. This wasn't just a discovery. It was a ticking clock, and he was in the middle of it. "You're asking me to help you fight," Jack said, almost to himself, still grappling with the reality of the situation. The alien woman nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, but it's not just a fight for survival. It's a fight for everything we've lost. Our people, our history, our future. And you, human, are the key to all of it." Jack's head spun with her words. "I'm the key? How could he be the key to something so immense, so important? He had no training, no weapons, no knowledge of intergalactic warfare. He was just a man who had wandered into the wrong stall at the wrong time. But the look in her eyes, the certainty in her voice, it was hard to deny. He was part of this, whether he liked it or not, and running away wasn't an option. "We can teach you," the alien woman said, as if reading his thoughts. "We can show you how to harness the power of the stars, how to fight. But you must be willing. You must trust us." Jack looked around the room at the other aliens, their eyes all on him now. They were silent, waiting for him to make a choice. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, and for a moment he felt completely lost. He wasn't a soldier or a leader or anything extraordinary. He was just a guy who had bought a container for $1, but the fear in their eyes, the urgency in their voices, it told him something. This was bigger than him. This was about survival, about protecting a future that was slipping away. And if he didn't help, he knew the consequences would be dire, not just for him, but for everyone. "I'll help," Jack said, the words leaving his lips before he could fully process them. "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll help." A slow smile spread across the alien woman's face. "Then we begin," she said, her voice full of quiet determination. And just like that, Jack knew his life had changed forever. He had stepped into a world of danger, mystery, and power, one that would test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. And whether he was ready or not, the battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The silence in the room was suffocating as Jack stood there, his mind racing. The weight of his decision settled around him like an invisible force. He had agreed to help, but now, with the eyes of the alien beings on him, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had stepped into something much bigger than he could ever understand. The alien woman, he still hadn't learned her name, motioned for him to follow her. And the others moved with her, their movements fluid and graceful, as if they were one unified entity. Jack hesitated for a moment, but then he took a deep breath and followed, his steps heavy and uncertain. They led him through the ship, a series of narrow, dimly lit corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls were covered in strange symbols, the markings of an ancient civilization. Jack couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing in on him. These beings weren't just survivors of a lost war, they were the last remnants of something powerful, something that had been destroyed long before he was born. "Where are we going?" Jack asked, his voice low and hesitant. The alien woman glanced back at him. "To the control room," she said. "It's time you learned the truth about what we're up against." Truth. The word echoed in Jack's mind. He thought he understood the basics, their enemies, the war, the centuries of exile, but the truth? He wasn't sure if he was ready for it. They finally reached a large chamber, its walls lined with intricate machines that hummed softly. The room was dark, lit only by the soft glow of alien technology. In the center of the room was a massive screen, displaying a map of the galaxy. But it wasn't just a map. There were red dots scattered across it, pulsating like a heartbeat. "These are the locations of our enemies," the alien woman said, stepping forward to stand beside the screen. "They have been searching for us, hunting us down, and they're getting closer." Jack stepped up beside her, his eyes tracing the map. The dots seemed to grow in number with every passing second. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "They are a faction of a powerful empire," she replied, "one that seeks to dominate the galaxy. They wiped out our people and imprisoned us. But they have never stopped looking for us?" Jack's stomach churned as he looked at the map. He could feel the weight of their pursuit, the looming threat that was growing stronger with each passing day. "What do we do now?" he asked, the gravity of the situation beginning to hit him. The alien woman turned to face him, her eyes hard and determined. "We fight. We gather the others, and we stop them before they can finish what they started." A sense of urgency filled the room, and Jack realized just how much was riding on this moment. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to protect the future, to prevent an empire from dominating the stars once again. Jack took a deep breath. He had no idea how he was going to help, or even if he was capable of doing anything. But he knew one thing for certain. This was his fight now. There was no turning back. The tension in the control room was palpable, as if the very air was charged with the anticipation of what was to come. Jack stood beside the alien woman, staring at the glowing map, his mind racing. The red dots were now everywhere, covering planets, moons, and space stations across the galaxy. The Empire's reach was vast, and their pursuit of the alien race seemed endless. "They are already on their way," the alien woman said, her voice steady but tinged with an edge of urgency. "Our enemies are not just after us, they are after everything we were. Our knowledge, our technology. They cannot allow us to awaken. We must act now." Jack's pulse quickened. The weight of responsibility bore down on him, heavier than any burden he had ever carried. He had gone from being an ordinary man, stumbling upon a $1 container in a market, to now being a part of an intergalactic resistance fighting a war he didn't fully understand. Yet, despite the fear and uncertainty, something in him stirred, a quiet, unwavering resolve. He couldn't back out now. "We have the element of surprise," the woman continued, her eyes focused on the map. "They do not know that we are awake, that we have regrouped. But that advantage will not last long. They will send fleets, armies. We must strike first." Jack glanced around the room at the other aliens who had silently gathered. Their faces were unreadable, but Jack could sense the shared determination between them. They were warriors, survivors, and now they were trusting him to fight beside them. "How do we even begin?" Jack asked, his voice more confident now, but still filled with doubt. "We don't have the resources, the firepower. We're just a handful of us." The alien woman turned to him, a small, knowing smile touching her lips. "We have more than you think. We have the power of the stars, the knowledge of ancient technology that even your galaxy has never dreamed of. But we need someone to lead us. Someone who understands the human heart, someone who can inspire. That is why we chose you." Jack felt his chest tighten at her words. Chosen, he had never felt more out of place. He was just a man with no experience in war or leadership. But the trust these beings placed in him, it felt heavy, like a promise he couldn't break. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've already made the hardest choice, Jack. Now we will train you. We will prepare you for the battle ahead. But remember this, it's not just a fight for survival. It's a fight for the future of the galaxy." The words hung in the air as Jack stared at the map once again, the red dots pulsing in rhythm with his racing heartbeat. They were coming and time was running out. But for the first time, Jack felt like he wasn't just a bystander. He was part of something bigger, something worth fighting for. The battle was about to begin, and Jack was ready.